Hey parents and coaches, are your kids using the right glove? The most important skill for youth athletes to learn is how to play proper catch. The problem is, most youth gloves are made with bad leather and are too big for small hands. They actually make it harder to play catch. That's why former Major League Baseball shortstop Kevin Smith created Cali gloves. Cali gloves are crafted from 100% Japanese kip leather and are the perfect size for kids. All Cali gloves come with palm slits, finger loops, and elastic wrist lacing that encourage proper hand placement, the right closing patterns, and give kids more confidence to go make plays. Cali gloves even allow parents to break in the glove without stretching out the fit. It's the glove Kevin wishes he had growing up, and the glove all his teammates want for their kids. Visit caligloves.com to learn more and help your kids play better catch. That's Cali Gloves, K-A-L-I gloves.com.
Welcome to this week's edition of the Dugout Dish Podcast. I'm Andy Kirikides, joined by my wonderful co-host, Keith Glasser. Keith, how we doing?
Great, how are you?
Got a special guest on tonight. Looking forward to this conversation. I'm going to kick it over to you for the intro.
Sure. Tonight we have friend of mine and now a friend of the show, but someone I played college summer ball with. So to show you that this business is pretty, you pretty much know everyone in this business in one way, shape, or form. But tonight we're joined by the Tarleton State head coach Fuller Smith. Fuller, welcome to the show, bub.
Good to be here, guys.
We appreciate you taking the time. Before we get going, just give our listeners a quick rundown of how you've gotten to where you are.
Yes, it's been a long road since Saratoga, New York, 20-something years ago.
Oh, yeah.
But no, I've made kind of the trek around the Southwest. You originally played at Ole Miss, ended up coaching there for about 4 or 5 years. Traveled over to Texas, the University of Texas at Arlington. My wife's originally from Dallas, so it was a good landing spot for us. We actually just had our first kid when we took the job there, so it was kind of divine intervention. But was there the recruiting coordinator at UT Arlington for about 5 years, and then shifted south to Sam Houston. Was there for 4 years, and we were in a regional. And then after the regional year, got the phone call to come up here and be the head coach, and excited to be here at Tarleton. It's a growing place. It's pretty interesting, all the stuff that's been done. But, there's roughly about, you guys don't even know, it's about $5 million of business growth as far as buildings and things going up in this town, which is unheard of in a smaller West Texas town. But it's a growing university. I think we're growing at a 5% clip annually enrollment-wise. So we're in the A&M system, so we're kind of the booming A&M North, so to speak. But good baseball program, basketball, as well as football, as we've been transitioning from the Division II to the Division I level.
Yeah, you got that transition, which for folks who are listening, you guys were Division II for a long time and have made the transition. If you want to take a second and just kind of talk through that a little bit and what that was like initially for you guys.
Yeah. And obviously I took the job. I think we were in year 4 of the transition. So there'd been 3 years prior to that. So there'd been some growing pains, through that and some staffs that, did a good job to get us to this point. But when we took over the job here 2 years ago, we weren't eligible for postseason, which is crazy. I've never been on a team where you're coaching or playing and you're knowing you're not going to get to play after your last game. It's over. And so getting the guys motivated every day, that's something that we had to fight at times. But, we had a really good group. They hadn't won a whole lot. And so, they were hungry just to be winners. And so they were bought in from the word go. But, I could tell you there was times where I'm like, man, this is like, we're playing for a championship, but we're not playing to be the last team standing, so to speak. And so, but we had a really good year, won more games than they ever have, Division I. Got in the conference tournament for the first time ever, and then it ended up getting hot down the stretch and won it, and got to actually have a dog pile at the end of the year, which is pretty cool. So.
Yeah, absolutely. For those of you who don't know, they weren't allowed to go and play in the NCAA tournament, which is really kind of, I guess, the kick in the pills there. But to break that seal has got to be a pretty big deal for the program and make that jump. I can imagine that was a pretty cool feeling.
Oh, it was great. It was awesome, and to see the look of those guys that they were the first to do it. We talk about being the first because there's a lot of firsts that are going to happen here. The first team to win a conference championship. Well, they were able to do it. The first team to win a conference championship in Division I outright. The first team to play in a regional, win a regional. So I think it was really cool to see those guys get to enjoy that last moment. And obviously I think us and I think Tennessee won it that year. So I guess we were the only two teams that won our last game. So, if they want to play, we could draw it back up and bring all the pro guys they have back, and we'll play in a 3-game set. But I think all the guys that I had, a lot of them are like bankers and finance guys, and so I don't know if they're still in shape to do that yet. So,
No, that's great. The question we typically lead off with, we got a little sidetrack because you guys set up going from D2 to Division I is unique, but how do you go about identifying guys that are a fit for your program?
well, I think a lot of it has to do with the town we're in. It's a blue collar town. It's actually the cowboy capital of the world, if you guys don't know. So like I don't know, I didn't know a lot about rodeo when I got here because being from Alabama, rodeo is not a big thing, but most of the really good rodeo stars from the Ty Murrays of the world and others, they either live or lived around this town at some point in their career. So it's a very, very blue collar, hardworking town. And so, one of the things we look for and identify is that the type of kid that's going to fit in this town, number one. And that doesn't mean that they can't come from, really, 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 really nice area. It just means that they're willing to, put their nose down and work. But we look for a lot of guys, whether it be the high school in the state of Texas and surrounding states to the junior colleges. I think junior college is a little bit different. A lot of people look at it, a certain way. But for us, there's a lot of really good baseball players that come out of the junior college ranks here. And some of them are really, really good students. They want to play baseball and still get their degree. And so we tend to have quite a few guys from that end up getting their degrees from here or going on and getting the grad degrees at other places like Rice and others after they're done here. So, but we tend to target those guys, and we're kind of a strength speed combo offensively. So it's the total opposite of Keith. You probably remember me. I couldn't run out of sight. So we're trying to find the guys that are the total opposite of me, like tall, lean, athletic, that can run. And then on the mound, a lot of guys that can just fill up the zone with 2 pitches and have projection to develop into to a big league product when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Like we were talking about this pre-show, but a lot of people I think sometimes look down their nose at the junior college ranks while not understanding how serious it is, and probably more specifically in the South and California for that argument's sake, but like how good baseball is at the junior college level. And I also think the other side of it is you're getting guys and you're able to recruit guys and ultimately get guys, I should say, that have 300, 400, 500 at bats in college already against good competition. And you have something that you can go to and be like, hey, this is a guy that, he hit 360 at Meridian. Like, this is a dude that we should probably be on because I know the league they play in. I know the talent that's there. Like, that guy might also not have been able to get 300-400 at bats with you his first 2 years. And being able to bring that guy in as a junior and seamlessly transition into making that jump, I think is huge. But the understanding of the listeners is like, it's not, if that is an option for you, it's not the worst option in the world to be a junior college guy. Like you have, I think you can play 56 games in the spring. And I mean, let's face it, there are no rules. Like, not in a bad way, but like you can legitimately practice the second you set foot on campus until you leave
and then turn around and do the same thing in the spring while playing 56 games. There's something to be said about that, because the development that you get over the course of, you don't get that at the Division I level. You don't get it at 2, you don't get it at 3.
Not at all.
You can legitimately go practice. You can, you're inter squatting, you're doing, like, you're facing college pitching damn near every day.
Yep.
And, it's kind of sink or swim, but for the guys that swim, like that's a huge benefit for guys in the recruiting process, especially nowadays with the transfer portal and everything else. It allows you to kind of look at it and be objective from the standpoint of, like, hey, here are 2 guys that are the same, a high school kid and a JUCO kid. The JUCO kid hit 360 for 2 years here. We probably have a better chance of this kid being uber successful for us right away. Not to say you don't take the high school kid, but maybe it's like, hey, in 2 years, when this kid, maybe he's only there for a year, but in 2 years, this other kid's probably going to be ready to supplant him, and we can keep it rolling. No. I just think that there's an air of, I don't think junior college is good enough for me. When at the end of the day, to your point, like, you can get an associate's, you can get a 4-year degree. Like, it doesn't say, there's no asterisks on your degree that you went to a junior college. And then you can go to a Rice, you can go to another really good school to get your master's. Like, it doesn't, that none of that factors in. And if that's the best fit for you, then that should be something that you legitimately entertain through your recruiting process.
No doubt. And honestly, Keith, like, yeah, I was a product of the junior college system. I actually went to a 4-year back when there was no rules, similar to it is now. And there's, now they've got roster caps, but there was 60 plus on a roster at one point. And so I actually got to experience that firsthand. Like, I played in 35 games in the fall, 40 games, including inter squads against each other, 18 inning days. Like, if you're good, you'll figure it out. But I think I probably got roughly 800 at bats in a full calendar year. I mean, that's 800 bats that I couldn't get anywhere else. It doesn't matter what type of pitching, but the cool thing is in Texas, like, you're facing like we were facing Chris Davis, Jake Arrieta, guys that pitch in the big leagues, Herman Duran that played in the big leagues for years. So you're facing guys that maybe didn't want to go to a 4-year because they were trying to draft and fall. They're DNF. And so junior college is a really good route for a lot of guys. And Division I baseball and college baseball in general, the rosters, if you look up and down, they're getting older and older and older. And, for a young guy coming in, it might be tough to crack the lineup at a big Power 4 school. It'll be a lot easier here, at a mid-major school. But in a junior college, you're able to step in and get really, really quality at bats or innings to develop in the type of player you want to be. So in a year from now or 2 years from now, your dream school is North Carolina or Texas or wherever. You might be ready to do that right now, and so I think that's the thing. Like, and people look at it, maybe if it's not as good, it's really good. We're playing, I think, 4 junior colleges this fall. The better ones in the state, because I think it's good for us from a recruiting standpoint. Number one, we get to evaluate them against our own guys, but number two, it's a good game. They're 1 through 5 most of the time on the mound are about as good as anybody we'll see in mid-major baseball and some at the Power 4 level. And so just because either they don't have the grades or they want to get drafted or what that looks like. But I think junior college is a great route. I really do. And it's not for everybody, but you can still go to junior college, Keith, if you're a 34 ACT and a 4.0 and still get your degree from Vanderbilt. You can still transfer out there and go get your degree, and your degree is going to say Vanderbilt University. It's not going to say Polk State Community College, So, and I think that's the thing people don't really necessarily look at all the time. But baseball is really good. I think it's getting better and better each year. Coaches are getting better at every level. And we see so much crossover between professional baseball and college baseball where coaches are flipping back and forth. There's so many new ideas, and there's so much guys that are on the cutting edge of things. I think the game's growing faster than it ever has.
Couldn't agree more. I think for me that
the JUCO thing for me was open early in my career coaching when I was coaching at West Al. And I mean, we were primarily JUCO heavy.
Yeah.
And I get it. Why part of the Northeast and part of this country doesn't really love it. Where, I came from an area where it wasn't like, not that it's not good, but it's not what it is in the South.
Yeah.
And, they were like, we're going to go watch Meridian and Itawamba play. And I was like, how good is this going to be?
Where's
that? Where? And show it to Meridian. Like, first of all, their field's absurd. And I'm watching, this is in 08, 09. Like, I'm watching dudes that are upper eights, low nines, and freak athletes on the field making plays all over the place. And I'm like, yo, what am I watching right now? And it's like, it's your first endeavor into recruiting, right? So like, you're taking as many notes as you possibly can. You're like writing in longhand. You're just like, you're looking back, you're like, God, I'm an idiot. But I'm like, yeah, I circled all these guys. I'm like, I think all these guys can play. And it's like, yeah, he's committed to Mississippi State. He's going to Ole Miss. That kid's committed to Texas. I'm like, okay. Well, who the hell do we recruit then?
Yeah.
And but it opened my eyes to the stand. Like, I was like, damn, like this is big boy baseball down here. Like, we had Itawamba at our field. We had Walter State. Polk came down. Holmes Community College, where Roy Oswalt played. Like, and you're watching it, and I'm like, this is legit, really, really high end baseball. And aside from that, like coaching in the Division II level in Alabama, like I've said this before on here. I'm upstate New York boy, played Division I. I thought I knew everything, and then we were sixth in the country. We were good, and I was humbled very quickly in that A, this is a huge country. B, baseball is very good all over the place, and it's not just my tiny little world of what I thought it was. And really opened my eyes to the standpoint of like, shit, that year, I think Canley's team, Lynn won the national championship that year.
Yeah.
And it was Lynn. Our regional was Lynn, Tampa, Southern Arc, who had a first rounder, us, Delta State, and there was two other teams in there. But the Sunshine State's load, Nova Southeastern, and
like the Blue Bloods of Division II baseball.
Yeah. What was they called it? Titletown, the one in Georgia.
West Georgia?
No, it wasn't West Georgia. It was the other one. Come on, Andy. It'll come to me.
Used to be a junior college.
Yes, but
yeah,
anyways, but it was like we were all in the same regional, and Tommy Canley came out of there. Tommy Canley obviously is still pitching the big leagues. Yeah. I want to say I went back like 3 or 4 years later. There was like 25 dudes that played in that region that got drafted.
Yeah.
Like absurd.
Yeah.
And guys Florida Southern was the other one. I'm sorry. There was 8 teams, Florida Southern, but like Florida Southern. And I coached in the summer that year, the year previous with 4 dudes from Florida Southern. 3 of them got popped and they didn't even play on that Florida Southern team. And, looking back, it's like, you have no idea how good the baseball is. And I think it's something that like we try to get through on this podcast of like, just because, and I think it's hard, right? Like if you're getting a lot of interest and you are being recruited, it's hard to understand, or you play within a summer organization that has really good players that get recruited, that because you play there, you should be recruited. When the reality is 93% of you won't even play college baseball. And that's a hard number to kind of wrap your head around. It's like you have to be in the 7% that are going to go play 1, 2, or 3. Now we can extrapolate it out and say it's 10% with junior college and NAIA stuff. But if you're going to go play Division 1, 2, or 3, you're in the 7% that have to be good. And within that, there's layers to it. Like, this as well as I do. And Andy and I talk about it. Like, there's Division 2 teams in this country. Go look at the top 25 that would win, and not just win, would sweep and dominate 3-game sets with Division I schools in this country. Like, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And, the misnomer that like, oh, Division II is not as good as Division I, like, hey man, go watch Tampa play. Like, they're pretty good. Like, they're going to roll out dude after dude after dude. And I just think that, like, I'm beating a dead horse here, right? But I think it can't be understated with how good junior college baseball is and what the like Division II, things like that. I think the one thing, and I'm interested to kind of hear what you think about it, with the transfer rules, we've covered it ad nauseum on here.
Yeah.
Like, do you think, or have you seen, do you feel, whatever, that there's more, you're like the Division II might be getting maybe a little bit more hurt in this new world?
Yeah,
where,
100%.
You know what I mean? Like those guys that used to be the D1 kickbacks that would go down to Division II because that was the rule. Like now those really good Division II guys are like, yo, I can jump and just go play in the SEC or the ACC instead of kind of being locked in.
Because used to, if they say they went to a junior college, let's say they went to junior college for a year and they leveled up to Division II, they're stuck. You know, like if they want to leave and go to Division I, they got to sit out a year. Now, everybody can go up and down. And so I think a lot of, water's kind of finding its level. You see it every year. A lot of the schools, they'll recruit early. The Blue Bloods will recruit early, but they're still recruiting. They're still going to recruit at the end of the summer, in the middle of the summer. And, they don't sign, you still sign a lot of guys, but they're signing a lot more guys at the end of the year. Because at the end of the day, when one of those players becomes available at the Division I mid-major or Division II and they feel like it's a right fit, they're going to take them, and so I think that, the Division IIs, I think, are getting hurt a little bit by it. I think the junior colleges, it's going to kind of, retroactively help them because a lot of guys, especially where we're at, they'll just go to junior college. A lot of them, if something happened at Division I level and didn't work out, they'll just shift down to JC and kind of grab their bearings and realign and make another move after that. But I think that we've got three or four guys, Division II, one Division III guy that they've all kind of leveled up, because they've gotten better. And, a couple of them are grad transfers. One of them's third-year guy, but, a lot of them are like, hey, I just want a shot. I want to see if I can do this at this level. And so I think it's cool because guys are developing at their own pace at different places. But you'll have guys like us that have good players that'll end up at a Power 4 school, and I think that's, to me, it's a good thing, though. If they want to make a run at it and see if they can do it, we're not going to stop them. Nobody is. It's just like, when you're helping your guys, being recruited, a lot of times when, they say, hey, well, this school's recruiting me. And it's like, in the back of your mind, you're like, I don't know if that's a good fit. They'll be fine. I'll be fine. I'll be one of the guys that makes it on campus and makes it for 3 or 4 years. And, they never think it's going to be them, but a lot of times it is. And so I think it's just finding the right fit where you're really, really wanted. And that you're going to get in there and get to develop and play. Because at the end of the day, development, you can develop in a vacuum, in a lab, working on stuff. But until the live bullets are flying, you don't really know what you are and what you need to do to become who you are. And so I think that's where a lot of guys lose track of the development piece of it. You got to know what you can do when the game really matters versus, well, the metrics say this in this lab and I can do this. Well, yeah, but you don't have traffic on the bases and this guy's not going to show bunt or action a hit and run or, do something that maybe you're not used to. So, but I think it's neat. I really do. I think there's a lot of good and bad with it. I think for us, it's just making sure that we find the right guys, and we've done a really good job, honestly, Keith, with retention. And I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing, but a lot of guys have stuck it out. I think a lot of them they like it here. They like developing, but I think it makes us better as coaches, Keith. We got to figure out, if we got a guy here for 3 years, we got to continue to keep him learning and improving. So I think it's made us better as coaches. Hey, we got to call who's the best hitting coordinators in the country in pro ball? Who are the best hitting guys? And let's talk shop. Let's figure out something that we're not doing or that we could do better to help this guy that's been here for 3 years and has got blood and sweat equity in the program. Let's get him to the next level. So, I think you're right. It has hurt them a little bit, but they're still good. I mean, UT Tyler, Angelo State, West Texas A&M, Lubbock Christian, all those schools are in Texas. They're all top 25 type clubs, and I think Angelo and Tyler played to go to the World Series this past year, and both those teams could have won it easily. So,
no, I think like, you bring up a great point, and we'll probably go down this rabbit hole here because Andy and I have beaten the drum on this for a while, and you're our first interview post summer, so we've been carrying this for a while. But
I don't know if I want to hear this.
No, you do, because it illustrates the point that you were just making, in that we've, in some ways, like, yes, our game is growing at an exponential rate. That's awesome. But in some ways, we've lost the ability to actually play the game of baseball. And I think that it's a weird kind of situation to be in, I think, in our generation of coaches, because we're kind of that bridge, not that I'm coaching anymore, but like we're that bridge from the old school into the new school, where we grew up in that, you know, you're going to take 0-0 all the time, and we're going to bunt runners over to second base early in games, like that kind of small ball, like we're just going to force action type kind of model that we've slowly kind of moved away from. And you hear people like, oh, no bunting, and like, but you still have to play the game, because at the end of the day, you're going to find yourself, and I mean, you probably know this just as much as anyone else, like in Division I and generally in college baseball, like 50% of your games are one-run games. Like you're playing tight games. If you can't defend, you're likely not finding yourself a spot on the field.
Yep.
Conversely, it's one of the easiest ways to get yourself into the lineup early in your career if you can go be a high-level defender.
Yep.
But we've kind of gotten away from that because it's not sexy to put on Twitter or Instagram or X, whatever we want to call it nowadays, because like you're fielding balls. But like that could be what gets you into the lineup. And you have to play when the lights are on. Like if you're going to pitch at a 1-8 and you can't field your position, you're not throwing. It's just like, it's going to be hard for you to be like, we're going to throw this guy in this one-run game, and he's a 1-9 to the plate, and he's going to rifle the bunt down the right field line, and that kid's going to be standing on third with no outs, and we're going to lose. Like, you just can't do it. And I think we've, in some, the pendulum, I think, is swinging back, but you bring up a great point that you still have to be able to go play when the lights are on and when it actually matters, because we've, I mean, you see it every year, and not to pick on anybody out there, but like, when you're in the transfer portal and you're 94 to 96 with a 15 ERA, it's going to be hard to find a spot, because there's a reason that, some people might not want to take a chance on that.
Yeah.
Like it's 94 to 96, sure, but what's your whip? Can you, like, what are you to the plate? Like, what's your ball to strike ratio? Like, and you flip it on, like you go look, and it's like, 2 punch outs and 15 walks. Like, okay, can that help me win? Is ultimately the question that it boils down to. And if that answer is no, you're just going to get passed over. And I think that we've gotten away from that pitching wise and positionally, that because we don't love the hard things that ultimately are the things that get you on the field, of being able to defend, being able to know, like, the baseball IQ of just knowing what's going on. I go to so many high school games, and I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, we don't even know how to throw the ball around the infield on a strikeout. Like, we're like third to second to short, back to third to the pitcher. Like, we throw the ball on the right, and then we go around the horn. Like, no, just get the ball back to the pitcher, please. Like, we're 47 seconds in between pitches here. Like, the pace of this game is horrific. And, it's things like that I think, like, it's to my original point, like, we're that bridge of being able to take the old school stuff and blend it with the new school stuff, and be able to actually get that stuff to show up in game. Yeah. And I think that's the super fun part about coaching, like now in this era with guys our age, and seeing guys do it and have a lot of success with it, and wondering like what more can we do to make this, easier of a transition for kids into college, because that, like, you could find to be that guy that's not going to happen to me. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, shit, I just got cut. What do I do? Yeah. Like, or why? How do I fix this? Like, we're playing a live game here. There's people, there's a batter, there's an umpire, there's fans. Like we talked about it before, like go play at Alex Box and yikes, you will see what's up. Or A&M when they're chanting ball 16.
Yeah, ball 8, ball 9, ball, I might start chanting that if I'm sitting there now.
Right.
But honestly, I think it's funny you bring that up because it's, there's a lot of new school thought and a lot of it's scientific based. And it's like, honestly, it's right. If you watch it, the way we train hitters and the way we train pitchers is 10 times is totally different than how it used to 15 years ago because there's data and there's scientific data behind it. The crazy thing is if you could mesh the old school coach mentality with the new school mind, like everybody's trying to fight each other. Like, why don't you just converge them? Because that's where you're going to get the best version of what we're looking for in baseball in general, where it's not just all analytics and data. It's not all just, hey, get your foot down and whatever. We're taking information because every kid now wants to know why. Why am I doing this? What's the reasoning? Well, we have information to tell you why, and then we can tell you what's real versus what you're actually feeling too. But being able to just merge those two worlds, the guys that are doing that right now are the ones that are having the most success. The guys that can really recruit, but the guys that get in player development, those guys that can merge both, those are the ones you look up and they're playing, for a long time, on into June in late June. So, but like that's the stuff. Like I love the game. Like to me, that my most enjoyable moments as a coach is after we finish inter squatting or playing, and I've got notes down, and we can go back and coach them on the things that have happened versus just going, man, he can't do this or he can't do that. Well, like an old ball coach told me a long time ago, you can get guys to do anything. You just can't get them to do everything. So what is the most important things? And then get them to do it because they'll do it. If you just hold them accountable, they will do it. And I think that's where, a lot of coaches now, they just say, well, we just can't do this or we can't do that. We're not good enough. And well, yeah, you are because you've said that. Like you've already spoke that into existence. What makes your program good or what makes this team good or what makes that individual the player he needs to be, and like words of affirmation into him and force him to do it because he'll end up doing it because they all want to play. They want to be on the field. They're going to do what they want to do to get on the field to play. So, but I think once they mesh the two worlds, to me, that's the thing. Like everybody's arguing back and forth over this or that. Well, guys are different. Hitters are different. Some are aerial, some are terrestrial. Some scissor more than others. Like they're natural movements, but if you know how to coach them and help them, well, they can be the best version themselves. So
I think it's an interesting time with all the data because to your point, I think the guys who are doing it really well, you can use that data to highlight things that you value. Right? Like it's powerful when you can put up on a whiteboard data that shows like this is why we do this thing in practice. This is why this is important for us because when we do this really well, we win this many games. Or you get down to the player level and you start to be able to show them stuff that the data either validates, hey, this is why you're good, or this is a gap that we can try to close. And here's the data that's showing us that maybe some swing decision stuff. You're talking about pitch locations, pitch mix. Like I think some of the best pitching guys out there, what they're really good at is figuring out what guys do well.
Yeah.
And then asking them to do the stuff that they do well and not trying to fit them into a cookie cutter in terms of, well, we're going to throw, arm side fastballs. Well, if that guy can't get to arm side consistently, why are we throwing that pitch? Or if he has a really good breaking ball that he can glove strike, like maybe we need to pitch off of that more than his fastball and not stick to this kind of cookie cutter mentality that we grew up with, which was just hit the fastball, just throw the fastball. And it's like, well, okay, it's not wrong, but when the guy who's pitching throws 48%, 82 mile an hour snapdragons, like sometimes we got to look for that slider.
Yeah.
And now you have the data. Like now you have the data to try to close that gap and get. That's what I miss.
Yeah.
Is the mental side of it and being able to help hitters make better decisions and be able to connect with them in terms of different verbiage.
Yeah.
Like, how does a kid respond to different language and what do they do really well? Let's make sure that we don't ever take that away from them.
Yeah.
And, maybe we make a couple tweaks here and there, but to your point, if a kid is a guy who naturally kind of has that scissor kick action, or he's somebody who's a tall hitter who's going to get into his front side a little bit. Well, if he does that and he does it really well, just because it might not align with what you look at on the video as like a perfect swing, I think sometimes the really good coaches are the ones who choose not to change somebody.
Yeah.
And you let them do what they do really well. And I think that's what all the information that we have and the TrackMan and the Synergy and you got all the mocap stuff and the force plates. And I think it takes a special coach to be able to use that information in a way that's digestible and not just a cookie cutter approach, and figuring out how does that data actually help the individual. And I think that's what you're getting at with calling hitting coordinators and pitching coordinators and saying, hey, like, let's sit down and chop this up. I want to hear what you guys do. Because that might be the difference between your junior guy blowing up as a senior and that kid just having another year that's okay.
100%. I mean, and there's a lot of really good pitching organizations, like guys that do a really good job, like, and hitting organizations, guys, they have a plan and like, this is how we're developing our hitters. And you see a lot of those guys get to the big leagues probably a year too soon because they've performed, and it's like, are they ready to get there? Probably not, but man, they have made so many strides along the way. They're in the big leagues. And, I think that's, to me, the more information you have, the better. To me, information, knowledge is money and power. The more you know, the more you can help guys get better. And that goes for recruiting too. Like when we're recruiting guys, there's certain guys I know that like I don't do a good job of helping them from a hitting side or a pitching side. So like, yeah, we could recruit them and they might be the best available in our area, but how much better are we going to get them? Like it's going to be a total letdown that this guy doesn't become the player he wants to be because maybe I don't have the tool set to help him get there. And I think that's where, learning as much as you can will help you be able to reach as many of them as you can when you get them. Because we're not going to we just aren't at Tarleton. We're not getting the already made big leaguer or the guy that like if he just stands upright for 3 years, he's going to pitch. He's going to get drafted top 5 rounds to go play. We're going to get a young man that probably is, uber athletic, maybe a late bloomer that is just scratching the surface of what they're going to be, but they're going to need a roadmap. And it's not a big book you just give somebody and go, here's the roadmap to get the big leagues. No, man, it's messy. Like you're going to have to do a lot of FMS screening. You're going to have to look at the way they move and certain drill orientations to figure out how they need to actually hit. And you look up 2 years, maybe they've gotten stronger, more physical, and they're moving differently now. And I think that's the cool thing about college is, we're turning into a lot of it. We're turning into like the minor league system, and I think a lot of the owners in the big leagues probably want it that way because they don't have to spend as much money, and we're doing a lot of the legwork for them, if they get to that level. So,
and some of the setups that are out there now and the technology that's available, honestly, if you're 18 years old, if you're not going to get a ton of money, going to college it's a better lifestyle. It's a different lifestyle. Like competition matters a lot more than when you're in the Florida State League and you're playing at noon on August 1st and it's 100 degrees out and you're out there trying to develop, and the consequences of competition aren't as important. So like you're stepping into an environment where wins and losses matter a lot more.
Yeah.
But when you talk about the development that you can get, and I mean, you said it, there's college guys who are going to pro ball, but there's a lot of pro guys that are moving over to the college game because they've realized that if you're really interested in getting into the weeds with a kid and developing a kid, sometimes the college game is where it's at. Now, there's some restrictions in terms of how much time you can spend with a kid, but it's a different environment. And for some guys, they gravitate towards that setup and really trying to make a difference in an 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old kid. But the college game right now is just, I mean, you turn on the regionals, like and we watch way more college baseball than we probably should, but just the talent that's out there, the speed of the game, the composure of the kids. I mean, when you flip on, one of these regional games, you just watch how an 18-year-old, it was the North Carolina, Arizona regional final, 2 freshmen on the mound. And those kids didn't bat an eye. And I was just blown away at how mature and composed some of these kids are these days. And the game has evolved, and I think it's in a beautiful spot right now for sure.
No, I agree. And it's only going to, I think it's only going to get better. I really do. Because you're seeing it, you look at teams this year that were even mid-major teams that made it to super regionals. And obviously Skirka at Murray, a friend of mine, like getting to Omaha. I mean, those are the cool stories. But like, I'm guessing if you ask him, and I don't know this for a fact, but maybe a lot of his guys weren't highly recruited, and they had to develop them and it's perfect storm, but a lot of older guys that were in the program bought in, like wanted to win together. It was more of a brotherhood. And I think that's the neat thing about college baseball. That's what makes it different. You go to professional baseball, it's great. It's awesome. Like it's everybody's dream. But when you look back, on the memories, the relationships, maybe meeting your wife, who knows, but like that's a true brotherhood. You don't get that a lot after you leave college. Those are the guys that are in weddings. Those are the guys that are, you call if you ever need help. Those are like your brothers for life. And I think that's what's the neat part about it. And even in an environment where the transfer portal guys are bouncing back and forth, I think, you keep continuity like that amongst brothers, like you can do a lot of special things.
Yeah, you get kids pulling in the same direction. And that's definitely different from pro ball where, obviously those guys want to win. Everybody wants to win, but each individual guy in a pro system has aspirations to get into the big leagues. When you're on campus playing for you, you're trying to get into the conference tournament first and foremost, and then you're trying to win that thing. Like you kind of got one goal. Yeah. And that's a unique environment to be a part of. And, we're as players, me and Keith experienced that together, and, we're able to, get to a regional, and, that stuff never goes away. And
how many memories you guys have from that group? That's the thing. Like
still cracking jokes on the dumb stuff that was said. And like, it's 20 years, and, we still got running jokes and text message changed with old players, and it's hard to put a price on what that experience is. And kind of to take this full circle, like junior college can be the route for so many kids to get them to have that experience.
Yep.
And to a certain extent, you kind of get to do it twice.
Yeah, I mean, now they're giving guys an extra year, and who knows, maybe in a year from now, those 2 years don't even count. We don't know for certain. The NCAA's changed the rules so many times, and with lawsuits and everything else, I think at some point they'll probably settle on like 5 years to play 5, no matter what level. But like right now, we've got 3 guys that are all conference players that like have another year to come play, and they're coming back to play another year here because of junior college. And I think that's the neat part. They get one more year in the sun, so to speak. And who knows, they'll probably, maybe all 3 of them will be playing professional baseball because they're all willing and capable. And a lot, they were just kind of late bloomers. And so I think it's just neat. I think it's the game is good. And junior college, yeah, it's a great route for a lot of guys, especially guys that aren't where they need to be physically. I think it gives you time to play against guys that are your age versus, having to get as physical as fast as you can in order to compete at the Division I level. Because you turn on the TV and watch a lot of these games. I mean, they're every pitcher's 6'3", 210 pounds, and most hitters are 6 foot or bigger and 200 pounds. Like they're just physical. It's a different game. They don't look like they don't look like we look anymore. They're grown men, and so I think for you, just finding your level, I think is the most important thing because you can always level up. You can. It used to you would level down, now you can level up if you want. And I think that's the cool part about it. So
When you're recruiting the JUCO stuff, when do you start to bear down on guys for, so say you're recruiting for next fall, when do you really start to get in the weeds with kicking the tires on junior college kids? Like, what's the timing of that look like for you guys?
well, the neat thing is we're already starting on the junior college right now. Like we've targeted X amount of guys, and like we're full tilt on them. We're going to see them here in the next, probably week and a half to 2 weeks, and we've got about a month window to watch them. But the neat thing is a lot of the guys that we've seen are recruiting now. We recruited in high school. We've seen them develop, from their junior year to their senior year to their freshman year to their sophomore year, and so we've seen the growth exponentially over 3 or 4 years. And maybe they've gotten a little bit better every year, but they're performing in junior college. That's a pretty surefire bet. Like if there's certain criteria they meet for us, they're probably going to be just fine when they get here. And we already have a relationship with them because we've recruited them before, and they just weren't quite ready, or we didn't have the need at the time. Maybe we were full in that spot. But to me, that's where we have way more information on those guys as well. Because you can go back and look, like high school guys, you go look, you go see it, you get 2 looks in the summer from a lot of guys, especially guys in the Ivy League. They're going to get 2 looks, and hey, we got to make a decision on this guy. He's athletic enough, and seems like a great kid, background checks out, but like, do you really, really know anything about him? Call the high school coach and check stat lines and find out what mom and dad are like, and what brothers and sisters, brothers and sisters not. But junior college, like we've already done that. Now we're just watching them grow and mature as men and going, yeah, that guy's ready. Like he's ready to play for us right now, And so I think that's the cool thing is like we've had a lot of success, especially in Texas. But when I was at UTA, Sam Houston, a lot of guys that we took out of junior college that maybe weren't quite ready yet for the Power 4 level, but we got them for 1 year and they got drafted, and now they're playing professional baseball. So like we had targeted them for a while, and we knew what we were getting, and we knew how we could help them. So as soon as they got here, we kind of had an idea, this is how we're going to get him to that next level. So
well, that track record it's a much cleaner evaluation, right?
Yeah,
there's so much more data, because you bring up a good point. Shoot, even at William and Mary, where we really tried to do a lot of homework on guys in the state of Virginia, being a state school, you try to go see guys so you can get that picture, but you got to paint a picture of what you think a guy is in 15 to 18 at bats sometimes.
Stuff.
And you can miss in either direction. We've all had those guys where you just go see him on the wrong day and you just never come back because it's just like, he didn't fire me up that day. Like, I get why he's going somewhere else, but like you see somebody on a day and he's just not quite as good as you were hoping he was going to be. And sometimes you turn and you look for somebody else. But with the junior college stuff, you've got, to your point, hundreds of at-bats. And now you've got the physical evaluation. Now you've got the character evaluation. And you start to look at him and go, oh, okay. Like all of this adds up now. And we didn't do a ton of junior college stuff when I was at William and Mary. We did bring in a kid from the West Coast. He was a St. John's bounce back. He ended up out in Arizona, and we ended up bringing him in. But it was a super unique case because we ended up losing a guy early. We needed to go find a guy. But I've always been interested by the junior college baseball because of that these kids get to play so much.
Yeah.
And the development track is you see massive changes in these kids because they play so much baseball.
Yeah, and you can go to junior college, and honestly, if you just said, hey, we're going to go play and it's going to be a sandlot pickup game every day, they're going to get better. Hey, you're going to work out, go to school, and like they will get better because they're playing. I think the crazy thing too is you look at like scouting, like how many cross checkers and regional cross checkers miss on guys in the top 5 rounds every year? Like a lot. Like how many guys don't get to the big leagues? So at 18, 19, and now you're starting to look like a lot of orgs now, they're signing, hey, majority of the hitters we're taking out of college because there's a track record, so a lot of the stuff you're seeing, in pro ball, like success leaves clues. You're seeing how they're doing. Like maybe some of these programs should operate this way, or maybe if I'm a player, maybe I should do that because it'll give me my best chance for success at the next level. And yeah, there's some works that still, hey, heavy high school on the arms or whatnot, but especially from a hitting standpoint, like you guys would evaluate and recruit guys. Will going to watch a sophomore because used to you could sign him as freshman year. Well, the big boys, like when they sign a guy as a freshman, he's probably pretty good. He's going to be just fine. There's a good chance. But if you're not in the top 50 players in the country, that guy hasn't seen 89 to 92 miles an hour every day. You've been evaluating him hitting 84 to 86. How's he going to handle velocity? Do we even know? Like, is it even going to translate? And a lot of times that's where you see the guy that, like, hey, he was a freshman or sophomore and he just plateaued. Maybe because he committed and stopped working, or he peaked, earlier than most of the kids at his age. But I think the track record helps, in litigating the misses, because that's the thing. You don't want to. The last thing you want to do as a coach is miss on a guy, because from a talent standpoint and a personality standpoint, you want to make sure when you're on board and you're signing off on a kid, like it's going to fit and it's going to work. And I think that's where, like, the junior college or the Division II or wherever, it helps us, understand, like, hey, this is what he is. And I think you're seeing a lot of the blue bloods now. They're going after performers. Like these guys, bona fide gonna be a top 10 rounder, but he's a performer. Like he's gonna help us win. Let's go sign that guy. And you're seeing a lot of that now. So
you brought it up at the beginning about finding the right kid for you, right? And your guys set up where you're located, the type of school it is. Obviously, you have somewhat of a type that you're looking for in terms of the athlete. But you've brought it up a couple times about the character piece. How do you tease that out? What's your process to figure out, both on the field and off the field, if a kid's going to be a right fit for you guys?
Yeah, I think you got to watch it. I think you got to see him. I actually like to watch guys when they fail. And that sounds terrible, but I like to see how they handle it. Because you'll see some guys, they don't handle it well. It doesn't mean they won't at some point. See how their parents act. To me, that's a big one. Like the apple never falls far from the tree, and that's where conversations that we have with parents and kids, you can ask pointed questions and find out real quick, what they're all about. And it's not personal. It's just we need to do our background on the type of kid we're bringing in, because honestly, if you're not the right fit, I don't want you here, and you won't want to be here either. It'd be a bad marriage. So to me, watching them and evaluating them and just being on the phone with them and kind of a disarming environment, just allows us to just be real, because I'll ask them straight up what I want to know, and sometimes they give me the right answer, sometimes they don't, but a lot of time it's just a gut feel. And, we'll do background with the kid on the high school coach. Like we call every high school coach, every kid's on our roster, we talk to at least one or two high school coaches, because they're with them every day. They know how mom and dad act. They may not have had a run in with a travel coach, but they might have had with a high school coach. We'll at least know what we're in for. Occasionally we'll pop in and watch a practice when they don't think we're going to be there, or hey, show up to a game when they don't think we're going to be there, and maybe not be flying the colors, just to see, how they handle themselves when no one's around. Because I think that's true tested character, is how you act when when no one's around or when you don't think anybody's around. So
I think it's huge. Like I learned that from Coach Rossi, who I coached for at Siena, who coached for 54 years at Siena. I don't know, longer than all of us have been alive.
but he's seen it all.
Yes, but like it was so true. Where like if we went to like Diamond Nation, which is a huge complex up here in the Northeast, or you go recruiting that way, like you had to wear Siena stuff. Like you went to a local game, or we were going to check in on someone, like you don't wear anything. Like go incognites, don't let anyone know that you're there, and I want to see what he's like if he doesn't know that we're there. And when I was younger, I was like, why can't I just do this all the time? But like when I became a head coach, I was like, no, this makes a ton of sense. Like I completely understand where we're coming from here and why we're doing this. And there is a lot of truth to it. Like you can really find out what they are when no one's watching, or when they don't think anyone's watching, I should say. And I think the other thing too that is very true is that I don't think that it's terrible to say you like to see when people fail, because that, like, they're going to fail when they get to school.
Yeah.
And what is that response like? Like, do you bow your neck and try to get the next guy out after giving up a 2-run double? Or, do you throw your hands up because you thought the center fielder should have caught it and you're pissed off at the world? Because that ain't going to fly when you get to college. Like, someone is probably, you might come to blows in a dugout if you do that in an inter squad as a freshman. Like, yo, you ain't throwing your hands up at me. Like, don't give up piss missiles all over the yard, man. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
And, but I there's a lot of truth to that. And I think that from a recruiting standpoint, like, we've talked about it a lot. You're probably the first one to, like, outright say it. Andy and I have talked about it. Like, you can discern a lot more information on days when guys fail. Like, guys that you really like. And, like, you might walk away being like, nah, that's the guy that I do really like. Like, I've seen him be really good. I've seen him be not so good, but he handled everything the exact same way. And, like, there's a sense of toughness to that kid that, like, I can coach that kid. And if I got to get into him, or I can, like, whatever I have to do to get it out of him, I know that I can do it. Whereas if it's not there, it's like, yo, I don't know. And I think it goes back to what you were talking about earlier about knowing what works in your program and your coaching style. Like, it comes with the maturity of doing it, but also that might not fit you. So if it's not going to, like, it doesn't mean that kid, like, and we talk about this with kids all the time, like, doesn't mean you're not a good player. It just means you don't fit well in that program, which on, like, you'd rather know on the front end, because if you got there, you're likely going to be like, damn, Coach Glasser is just, he's all over me, or Coach Smith is just wearing me out left and right. And it's like, yeah, man, like, this is just my style. And if you can't handle it, I'm not changing for you, because 33 other guys can hack it. So jump in the portal. And like, but that's just the truth. Like, it's not, I don't say that to be mean, but it's just the reality. Like, you get to a point in your career, it's like, this is my coaching style. This is how it is. If I don't feel like we're going to be able to get the most out of this kid, then we should pass on him, because there's other kids out there that are just as good, or, a tick below, that we can get more out of, because he's going to fit our coaching style better in this program.
Well, that's it. That's the thing. There's, like, you talk about, like, the program, we don't have, like, acronyms for the program. A lot of schools, and that's, like, they kind of have, like, this is our pillars. And I said, well, we have pillars, but, like, different years, some pillars are emphasized more than others. Like, this pillar is, like, what they need versus this pillar. And a lot of times it's just, it's the guys and their personalities. But there'll be times, Keith, where I love going to watch games. It's one of my favorite things to do is evaluate. And I'll really like a kid, but, like, he's not going to get out of second gear. Like, sometimes I'll call him and go, hey, listen, I'm coming to watch you tomorrow, Keith. And if you don't play with your hair on fire, like, I'm out, man. And I don't care what you do on the field. I don't care how you perform. Like, I've already seen that. Like, I want to see if I tell you to do something, will you actually do it? And that, to me, that's another thing. Like, a lot of guys are scared just to say it. They're scared they're not going to get the guy. Well, if you get the guy and he's not fit, then it ain't going to work anyway. You might as well find out right now if this guy's going to be a fit or not. Because at the end of the day, it's either going to be miserable for both of you, or maybe it's going to be a really fun ride for the next 3 or 4 years.
And I think the thing too is that you can play as much summer ball as you want and high school, whatever, but you're not going to go through a season in college. You've never done it before.
No.
And the sheer amount of time that you are going to spend with each other is something that is hard to contextualize when you've never done it before. You're talking about taking flights and bus rides and for hours on end with the same people for 19 to 20 plus weeks. You spend or that's just the season. That's not even the fall. That's not practice. That's the weight room. None of that. Like you spend a ton of time with each other, and if you're not going to mesh well, it's not going to end well. So I'm with you. Like I would rather find out early on in the process of like, hey, I don't know if I don't think it's going to work with this specific player. I think it is here. But the low motor, like, I mean, I think it's probably one of Andy's highest pet peeves in the world of having a low motor. Like it is. I was texting him the other day. I was at a high school game a couple weeks ago. There was a team, and I'm not like, you don't have to sprint on and off the field for me, but like we were
professional pace,
walking on the field, and I was like, yo, there's just no motor in any of it. Like there's like what if I was coaching and I showed up this game, like I wouldn't stay past the second inning. Like there's just we're just literally walking, and I'm like, just give me something.
But has anybody said anything? That's the question. Did anybody say anything? Like, no. So you are what you tolerate. Like,
correct.
Are you gonna allow it to happen, or are you gonna change it? So,
right.
And that's the thing. Like, if somebody would say something, maybe
I knew we had flipped. Not that our culture was bad, but we had a couple of years where we were down when I took over, and I knew we had flipped it when I had a rule. I stole it from Coach Beretti at Columbia. Said this before. Where in practice, in coach pitch, in inter squads, whatever, if you popped up, you had to touch second. It was non-negotiable. You were going 2 out of the box. You had to go. And we had a sophomore who didn't do it, which, you know, you're not a sophomore at that point in time. You've done this plenty of times. And we had like 7 guys jump him. Yeah. Like I didn't have to say a word. 7 dudes jumped him. They were like, yo, we run hard out of the box and we touch second on all those. Like, and I was like, okay, we're moving in the right direction now that we have one of 37 that isn't doing it. And there's 9 dudes at least that are willing to hold you to account for what it is that we do. And is it a kind of dumb rule? Yeah, it is. But like there's intent behind it. And if I'm asking you to do it and I find that it's important, I want you to do it. Because there's that one time that you're not going to do it in game and that ball isn't going to be caught, and you're either going to get thrown out at first and then be sitting next to me on the bench, or you're going to look like an idiot because the ball fell and we didn't do anything. And then you're likely going to find yourself sitting next to me on the bench when you come off the inning. But like it's that one time that it doesn't happen. And I think that there's a lot of truth to all of these things that like, you know, yeah, I think it's awesome. Call a kid, yo, play with a high motor tomorrow. Like it's Andy's biggest pet peeve, I think. Like low motor guys drive Andy nuts.
Yeah, it drives me crazy. Like, and maybe it's because I had to be a play hard to be competitive.
Yeah, sure.
But like that was how. But like you talk about like the apple not falling that far from the tree. That was required of me when I was a kid. It's like, hey, you're out here, like you play hard. Like you play hard, you play to win, you have fun doing it. Like I always had fun playing, but you play hard. And I always had trouble with guys with low motors because to me it's the one thing that you can control every day.
Yeah.
Just playing hard, being present, like being excited, like, you know, you get to college baseball, if you're not excited to put those spikes on and go and work, it's going to be tough, man.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough because the guys who are successful, and success is defined a lot of different ways. Like it doesn't mean that you go play pro ball, but guys who are successful, they're good teammates. They end up having good careers. They're the guys that you think of 10 years from now. Like I remember that guy that I coached at Sam Houston, you know, like that kid played his ass off. Great kid. That stuff to me is just, it's so simple. And if you can't do that, college baseball is going to be a grind for you, and it shouldn't be a grind in that way. It should be a grind because you enjoy working hard, not pulling teeth to get somebody to be excited to be on a field.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at it, like we tell our guys all the time, it's 3 hours a day. Like 3 hours of your day, 24 hours a day, you're out here on this field. And in 4 years, or maybe tomorrow, you might not be able to do this again. So like empty the tank when you're here, because you know what? You're going to go home. You're going to get some rest. You're going to eat, and you're going to wake up the next day and you're going to feel just fine, ready to go again. But at some point, that window is going to close, and you don't want to look up and have wasted 3 years of high school, 4 years of high school, 2 or 3 years of college, and look up and go, man, where did the time go? And what happened with my quote unquote baseball career? You're like, today is today. Like what you do today is the only thing that matters. And to me, like go full tilt, empty the tank, and like jump over the edge head first. And then when it's over, it's over. Like when I leave the yard, I'm done. Like I got my arm around one of the guys and we're telling jokes, but like for those 3 hours we're out there and the hour we're in the weight room, like everybody's putting in the same amount of time. The difference is how are you doing that? Like how are you doing it? Is it with a focus, a tenacity, or is it just I'm here, I'm checking the box today, because there's days where you don't want to be, you don't feel like it, or there's something going on at the house, but man, you get to play baseball. Not many guys get to do that, especially now. So to me, that's I don't know why you don't love it. Like that's why I'm coaching, because I can't do it. Like there's guys I play with, they're still playing. Like I'm almost 40 years old. Like they're still living the dream, man. Like this is the most excited I've been every year. Like we start practice in 2 days, man. I'm fired up. Like wish we could go tonight. So
hell yeah. Well, closer question for you. If you were going to impart some wisdom onto families, players that are going through this recruiting process, give them some food for thought, some things to close this out in terms of some potential advice.
I get a couple things, and this goes for life too. So I think parents can understand this. Don't compare yourself to someone else. Don't compare your life or what you have to someone else, or your marriage to what's like. Don't compare your son's or the player's journey to someone else's, because everybody's is different. Everybody develops different. Everybody matures at a different rate, physically, mentally. And so the more you get caught up in that, the worse it'll be for you, because those are things that you cannot control. You can't control if Tarleton State's going to offer you a scholarship. You can't. Like, honestly, you can't. I'm the one, or one of our sisters, one that's going to offer the scholarship. But what you can control today is how you get better, what you're doing today with your time to improve as an athlete and as a baseball player, and so the more you start worrying about those things, you'll look up and you'll be where you want to be. It's just like when you guys were playing Division I baseball and coaching it, you guys have seen it. How many guys, when it comes to their draft year, all they're worried about is the draft. That's all they're worried about. Instead of worrying about this pitch right now, instead of worrying about this moment in time and hanging out and having dinner with the boys after a Friday night game. Like, that's what you should be worrying about, because you'll look up and like this journey that you really wanted to enjoy, it's gone. Like you missed the whole point of it. It's not about the destination. It is about the journey you're going on to get to where you want to go, because it won't be easy. Like some guys they'll get humbled. Some guys won't get to where they want to start, but it's waking up every day, just continue to grind, or quote unquote grind at it and work at it until you get what you want. And that's life. That's why baseball is so cool. That is like the epitome of life. And I think a lot of parents can relate to that because they have to do it every day. A lot of kids don't see it because they're all worried about the new shiny thing. And I think, to me, when you get, engulfed in that, you'll get to where you want to go. It may not be exactly where you want to be at the moment, but you will max out every bit of your athletic ability, and you'll find a spot where you can actually be successful.
Oh, well said, Coach. Well said. It's a good way to close this thing out.
Well, I've enjoyed it, guys. It's been fun.
Thank you for listening this week. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and smash that like button for us. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, as well as Spotify. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at EMD Baseball. If you want to find out what me and Keith do to help families and players navigate the recruiting process, go ahead and check us out on emdbaseball.com. take a few minutes to check out our new online academy. I promise you'll get some good information out of that. Thanks again for listening. Check in with you next week.